Greetings, everyone. Richard Solomon taking care of business. We are wacky today. We're actually wacky more than once on the show. But what we have today is the Bronx Wanderers. And what we've done is we got them all. It's like really wild. So we have Vinny.
Yo.
Hey, we have Vinny the Kid.
Hello, world.
There you go. We got Nikki Sticks.
What's going on?
There you go. And we got Joey B.
Joey B.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, cool. I got them all. So they're the Bronx Wanderers, thebronxwanderers.com. They are an incredible band. If you get to the show, what you will find is kind of interesting. You could look this up on Wikipedia. They actually know everybody in the audience. So that they do is after the show, they actually say, hey, Joe, Mikey, Tony, Tom, hey, Bob, happy birthday. It's actually hilarious because they actually know all of them.
We basically played every restaurant there is on the planet before we graduated that, so we now know our entire audience.
Well, but you have some of the most loyal fans. They are incredibly loyal.
Thank God for that.
And you know what? I have to say this unabashedly. When you guys perform, there is a lot of energy and a lot of love. The people just go nuts. You really give your hearts out. You guys tell great stories. You got some great visuals. And it's such a great experience. I mean, it's really, really fun. So for the people out there who don't know how I found them, I went on to a Google search and I did Partridge Family Leather Bronx. And this is what we found. Because I was looking.
We're going to put that on your tombstone.
Well, it's sort of like, like Chopped, where they take all these ingredients. So it's sort of like, a family rock and roll band from the Bronx. And that, this is who we got. So Vinny, by the way, Vinny, it's Andolfini, Andolfini, right?
Adinolfi.
Oh, Adinolfi. There you go. All right.
Yes.
Adinolfi. So he's got a great story that this all started as weird alchemy. Do you want to talk about that, the happy accident?
So it was one of those things where I was a record executive for the longest time thinking that this is great and I'm just going to ride this whole thing out into retirement and it'll be great. And about 13 years ago, my bosses, Terry Cashman and Tommy West, who did all Jim Croce's music and a lot of the Partridge Family stuff, and Dion was on the label at the time, they all came in and said that they were going to retire and they wanted to close the office, and I really kind of had no idea where and what I was going to do. And actor Chaz Palminteri was from the same Bronx neighborhood I was from, was just really a great guy, and I'd done some projects with him, and he had said to me, why don't you take your two young kids and do the artists that you worked with through the years? And I said to him, they're 14, they're 11. I really don't know if it's going to work, and it's such a long shot. And he said, no, do it. I'll help you. And luckily, Danny Aiello is a good friend. Danny stepped in and said, I'll help you. And he does our promo video for us. And Tony Orlando got on board. And the next thing you know, it's 13 years later, and we're playing all over the world. And just the greatest accident
Dad gave us
for me.
A really good 401k.
So speaking of touring, you are everywhere. Talk about that just a little. You are. I want to fast forward a little bit because I look at your tour schedule. I see where you've been, where you're going. It's actually pretty extensive.
Well, Dad actually just got done with a 13-hour drive back from Chicago, which was the last night or the night before. Before that, we were in L.A., where we got no sleep. And I mean, the whole name of the game that he taught us is to keep working and stay out there. And one day something great is going to happen with all this work that we're putting in. And we're actually fortunate that right around now we're starting to see, how many fans we truly have. I mean, we're almost at 10,000 Facebook fans. It's ridiculous.
Which for an oldies band is an incredible amount because most of the audience that we play to are not computer-driven people.
Well,
and the thing is, they're really afraid. I mean, a lot of the older people I speak to, they say to me, we don't want to go on Facebook because we know you have to sign up for it. I try and explain to them that you don't have to give your Social Security, there's nothing like that. And it scares a lot of them away.
Well, what's interesting for the people out there in Radio Land who didn't hear our pre-production phone call where I introduced the band to my original Bronx Wanderers, which were my parents, they don't have email. In fact, my joke with my mom and dad is they'll ask me a question, they'll say, Google knows that. And I'll actually whip out the cell phone and do a little smart search.
We just got Dad to talk to Siri for the first time a week ago. So,
really.
It's an ever-changing technology thing.
Well, speaking of technology, how much technology do you guys rely upon on the road as far as everything, GPS, email, social media, uploading stuff from shows? I mean,
it drives the engine. It really does. I mean, Joe Barry, jump in. This is Joe does all of our
Joe put the whole entire Christmas show production together with me. Which, when you see the Bronx Wanders Christmas show, we have snow falling in the background under our logo. He came up with that. We do Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. We have all Home Alone footage behind that. Joe, talk about that, man.
Yeah,
Well, don't be bashful. This is radio. Just go for it.
Okay. So these guys, I came to these guys and I have a little background in, technology. I worked for a startup before and working with Apple computers and just a little bit of music production, a little bit of video production, a little bit of graphics. And they come to me with a couple, tasks. Let's do a promo video for Unico. Let's do this and that. And I help them out with it. And it's cool. It's great. And I think it's something that we may surpass other oldies acts with in terms of, really bringing this music into the modern age.
So
yeah.
Are you going to recategorize yourself as the modern oldies?
Yeah, no, it really isn't. That really is a
new wop.
valid
It's called a new wop.
We're post-modern oldies band.
Well,
that's great.
So who put together in the surf? Well, two questions. Who put together the Surf Jam as a music arrangement? And then I have a follow-up question about the video that backs that up.
So basically what had happened was I had said one night, we had a producer a few years back that I was working with. His name was Adam Reich. And Adam was such a good guy out of Brooklyn. I sat down with him one night and I said, I want to do something to feature Nick. And I would love to do, I guess, Wipeout. And then it became, well, you know what, we had... our original guitarist that was in the band. The sad thing is the last time you interviewed me, I was the third oldest guy. There were two guys older than me, and now I am the oldest guy.
Moving on up.
Horrible. But so what happened was the guitarist in their band at that time was a really great guitar player, was the original guitar player for the Earls. Said to me, I wish you would do something for me. So that's how we said, let's get a guitar tune, and we picked Walk, Don't Run. And then we figured we would jump right into Wipeout, and then we were looking at each other going, okay, so how the hell do we get out of this? And then it became, we were on the beach, we're doing a surf thing. What's an iconic tune from the 60s that was a big hit? And we just all kind of looked at each other and said Hawaii 5-0. So we put the arrangement together, and then Vinny, Adam, myself, Jimmy, and Nick, we just kind of laid it down just to see what it would sound like. And we thought it was really good. And we thought.
And then the best part is every single girlfriend and wife at the time in the band heard it for the first time, what we did in the studio, and said, nobody's going to like that. That's never going to work.
Oh, really?
It's never going to work. You guys can't do that.
Yes.
And then we did it at a show one night, and it literally just destroyed the room. That was the biggest song of the night. And we all looked at each other laughing on stage, knowing that the only reason why we wanted to do this song was to prove them wrong.
That's right.
That's always a good point. If my wife doesn't like it, I know it's usually good. So that's my gauge.
Penicillin, that'll never work. What a dud.
Yeah, exactly. And so what had happened was we really kind of started the band with all these tunes, and then I wanted to take it in another direction and really start to use technology and do things that, other bands weren't doing, and that was tell more stories. The problem with the oldies circuit is these guys have to go on package shows where there's 5 and 6 and 7 bands, and what happens is they only have 10 minutes. So you really can't get in there and do a ton of production. And I had kind of made a decision early on that, I want this to be different, and I want it to be where we really can kind of unfold the story. How I was a guy in the record business, I had this going on. My friend Chaz told me to start a band with the kids, and from that it morphed into a video with Danny and Chaz introducing us to, you know what, we're doing Dion's The Wanderer, let's go film it on Arthur Avenue and Dion's old neighborhood and just have us walking through the neighborhood, and that became a thing. And then when it got to the surf medley, by that point we were in talks with people to really kind of take this to another level. And there's a really, really gifted director in Florida. His name is Kevin Black. And Kevin does a lot of production shows. And I had lunch with him one day, and I told him what I was doing, and he said to me, give me the surf medley. And he put that video together, which really, I mean, it's just the best clips that you could kind of think of from the 60s of all, you know, beach movie stuff and, you know, bikinis and, you know, hot rods. And then just for it to go into Hawaii Five-0, I said to him, I want to use the original opening of the show where Jack Lord is there and the wave comes crashing down, and you know, the coolest thing is
you look at it like Disney. Like whenever you go to Disney and you go on a ride, Disney isn't just affecting one sense. Disney's affecting all senses. You feel the touch, the smell, the sight, the sound of the entire ride. And like, you know, that's a huge driving inspiration to me that if we don't only show these people the sounds of what they were growing up with, we can show them the visuals of what they were growing up with. And we could wear the things that they were growing up with. I mean, it literally just takes people back like in a time machine type thing, and that's the cool aspect of it.
Well, you know, it's funny.
I mean, a great point is in the show, we literally show our story, which are pretty much my home movies, growing up, and then how, you know, the kids come along and the kids home. And the funny thing is, it's kind of shot as a typical what you would imagine in 1960s home movies look like, with my dad with the tree of lights holding him up while he's holding the camera. And the cool thing with that is people in the audience that watch that are not looking at my home movies. They're seeing themselves as the kid running around the kitchen and as the parents, you know, rolling in the waves at the beach. And it really is neat. And the comments that we always get is, you know, man, you really took me back. You really took me back. I can't believe it. I was in my old neighborhood. And, you know, yeah, it works.
Oh, I'll vouch for that because, you know, my parents always took these. I don't know if they were 16 millimeter or I forgot what the millimeter was in those days. But there's a lot of videos of my brother and I just kind of like hanging out in the house and doing things or dressing up for Halloween. Yeah, the 8 millimeter. And your videos, I guess it was really film. So your film looked like old. And my mom and dad also did a lot of 35 millimeter slides. Right. And to see, you know, the old slide shows, which they still have the equipment and show every once in a while. And to see the old movie, the old film, it's a real flashback, and in many ways a simpler time when there were busy signals and great music and a lot of other things that really aren't present in the same form anymore. You know, so
very true.
And I grew up, you know, with the original Hawaii Five-0, so I remember. Now the great thing about the Bronx Wanderers in the Surf Jam is that when they do a picture of Jack Lord on the balcony, there's now a close up of Vinny. So, you know, it's just, you know, they just using CGI, they just kind of went in there.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and just kind of interposed his face. You know, but by the way, this is trivia, but I remember reading that the current Hawaii Five-0, that they insisted that they keep the original song unchanged from the original series, unchanged.
Right.
You know, and I guess maybe that's also to bring that.
And they shot
the balcony scene.
He said, I'm right on that balcony, that same balcony. Yeah. And it really is great.
You know, so we only have a minute. Oh my God, this is like fast radio. When you are with the Bronx Wanderers, it is fast radio. So I'll tell you what, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable because they are the greatest band. Okay, so BronxWanderers.com, Facebook, the Bronx Wanderers.
Yep.
All right. So I'll tell you what, we'll be right back. Don't go away. We got lots of great stories. And when we come back, we're going to find out how long it takes Yo Vinny to put on his makeup. We'll talk about that in a second. All right. All right. We'll be right back. Keep it locked in. All right. Richard Solomon taking care of business with the Bronx Wanderers. You can catch us. There you go. You can catch us in concert. You can catch me on the radio and them on concert. BronxWanderers.com. Now, these guys have great stories. They should be on VH1 Storytellers, just as their own little series. So I was asking Vinny how long it takes to do the makeup. And they all cracked up because this is like an inside joke. But now we're going to let everybody in on the story.
So we play this gigantic gigantic festival every year in Milwaukee, and it's the grounds where they have Summerfest, which is this legendary summer concert series where the top names in the music industry play this place for 1 week. The week after, it's rented out, and it pretty much is themed. Each week they theme it. So 1 week it's Italian week, the next week it's, Oktoberfest, and it's all German themed. Then they do a trip to England, and it's really neat. So the week that we get to go in, it's themed Italian week, where they bring in Frankie Valli.
It's Italian?
No, I just, and so they bring in Frankie Valli, they bring in Frankie Avalon, they bring in groups like the Monkees, they bring in the Cake Boss, and there's all these giant stages set up in this amusement park with no rides. It's all stages and nothing else but food. So you pay like $20 to get in, and you just go from stage to stage and eat all day, and at any given moment, there's probably like 100,000 people in the park. And so it becomes a thing where while you're the band playing on stage, you're more than likely playing to 10 to 15,000 people at a clip. It really is. It's huge. So for 4 days, there we are playing, and we're doing great, and just, killing it. And on the 5th day, which is Monday, we go back to the airport, and I'm walking through the airport, and a guy comes up to me, and he says, "I saw you guys over the weekend. You guys are really good." And I said, "Thanks." And I keep walking, and a woman stopped me. She said, "Wow, I saw you guys over the weekend. I love you play with your kids. It was great. Thank you so much." And this goes like 3 or 4 times. I go, "Wow, this is really great." Some guy finally stops me, and he says, "Yo, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm a big fan." I'm like, "Wow." And he said, "I got to ask you, how long does it take to put the makeup on?" I said, "What?" And he said, "Come on, man. I know you're Gene Simmons." And I said, No. I said, "I'm not Gene Simmons." I said, "I'm in an oldies band with my kids." He goes, "Oh, I hate when you guys do that." And he starts screaming. All of a sudden, the crowd starts building, and he's pointing at me going, "Gene Simmons won't give me his autograph." And all of a sudden, all these people look at me like, "Is that really him?" So now I'm starting to freak out and panic. I took the paper out of his hand. I signed Gene Simmons. I take my guitar, and I run off to the gate. And everybody was laughing, and it just became like, that was a funny story. But now it's happened to me like 10 times. Where, like, I'll go into a restaurant, and you're the guy from the Family Jewels show, and I'm like, oh, God. And so this goes on and on. So finally, Gene Simmons was going to be in town, and Vinny said to me, "Why don't you call him up, and let's go talk to him and tell him this whole story, and this would be really funny." And the original notion was, when they were filming us for a reality show, I had told the producers this, and the plan was they were going to do this like a whole thing where they were going to get Gene Simmons in on the episode, and we were going to have a sit-down brokered by Danny Aiello, trying to explain to Gene Simmons that I'm not running around impersonating him, going to restaurants, trying to capitalize on the fact that I look like him. And so I go to meet him and tell him this, and as I'm walking up to him, I have a black
They're
jacket
wearing
on
the exact
and a black
same
shirt
thing.
and sunglasses, and he's got a black jacket, a black shirt, and sunglasses, and we both kind of double take a look at each other. And I said to him, "I had to meet you to tell you that everywhere I go, people think I'm you." And he looked back at me, and he couldn't have been nicer. He said, "Well, I got to tell you, you're very lucky to be this good looking." And he was great about it, and it was really like a fun moment, and just a brilliant businessman, and just a really super nice guy.
Yeah, when you come see us in the show, we have the slide that actually shows the picture of our dad next to Gene Simmons, and it literally is like a who's who.
Pretty funny.
You don't know.
Pretty funny and sad.
So
I said to my parents, "You couldn't make me look like Johnny Depp."
So the journalist question has to be, so who says that they're Paul Stanley when you're doing the autographs? By the way, Gene Simmons has an incredible reputation for being one of the smartest business folks ever to face rock and roll.
Ever. No, like
Dad
ever.
has his book.
Ever.
Well, his book is really cool too. I mean, when you think about
he read it.
When you think about it,
he's got a book called Me Inc., and it's all about, do it, go for it, start your own business, do it, and he talks about the over 500, I think it's 500 to 1,000 licensed products he has out on Kiss, and he's just a brilliant businessman.
I think they even have things as bizarre as coffins.
Everything.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, everything.
But what
We're
you
going to have
actually,
Bronx Wanderers songs soon, so be on the lookout for that.
well, yeah, what's interesting? Well,
Yeah, look out.
You never know. Maybe Kiss has been around for how long? 30,
I'm
35?
going to say 75, probably 40 years.
All right. Well, does that
I think they did their 40th anniversary tour a couple of years ago, yeah.
Does that qualify them as an oldies band?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, you never know.
It's pretty wild to think like that.
You know? So,
but yeah.
So
we are coming from a record background. I mean, it really gets into that you got to look at the whole picture, and I approach it where if we're playing oldies music, then you really have to stop and say that what stuff like what you're saying, 1975 and 1973. Those
it
are
is oldies now.
Those are over 40 years old, and the people that were 20 years old are now in their 60s, and it really becomes that you got to start bringing those things into what we're doing. And that's why, if you follow CBS FM in New York and stations like that, they are moving more 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and you got to keep moving that, time frame forward. We always keep the early stuff that we do, but we just keep, trying to slide that, meter forward a little bit.
Well, you have to evolve as time evolves.
Well,
I love being topical. I mean, last week the biggest thing in the news was the Back to the Future date. And Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd were on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and it was in the newspapers, and it was on all the radio stations. It was everywhere. And so the kids went in. We went in the studio. We came up with this gigantic opening with a whole DeLorean and us getting in a DeLorean, and it being this whole Back to the Future thing. And you see the DeLorean, crash through the screen, and all of a sudden our name is on the screen in the Back to the Future font, and we bust into Huey Lewis's Power of Love, which, for an oldies band, it's like, what are you guys doing that tune for? Because it's topical, and it's what's out there today, and it's what everybody's talking about today. And, that weekend when we did that on stage, everybody had, whoa, and you go right out of that into the Wanderer, people are like, wow, these guys are amazing. And you gotta, always want to be cutting edge, always.
Well, speaking of cutting edge, you got to talk to us, meaning the listeners, about Bohemian Rhapsody, because when I saw you guys play that, I was floored to the I was like, wow, because you did it so awesomely. That's the first thing.
The story behind that tune is, I saw a band online that basically said they're doing Bohemian Rhapsody, and the caption said, best cover version of Bohemian Rhapsody ever.
Until
I watched the video, and I thought, maybe I can get the guys together and we could try to do our own little take and thing on this. I showed it to Dad. I said, can I have permission to actually spend some time on this and put this song together with the guys? And he was like, if you honestly think you can pull this song off, you can try to do it. So I got the guys together. It took us a month and a half to figure out who is singing what vocal where, who is doing what, how are we gonna put this together on stage every night without completely embarrassing ourselves. And after a month and a half, we went in the studio, we put this thing down, and we looked at each other and said, either people are gonna love the death out of this, or they're gonna hate it. And it's the biggest hit of the night now.
When you first,
it definitely is, and again, picture going to a Florida retirement community and playing Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, any normal programmer would look at you and say, never going to work. It's never going to work. And there we are doing Bohemian Rhapsody, and at the end of the night, in the meet and greet line, I have everybody that's anywhere from 70 to 80 years old telling me they love the Mamma Mia song. They don't know the title, they don't know what it is.
They don't know the name of it, but that's what they say.
And it worked.
Was it Mamma Mia ABBA? No, okay.
Yeah,
Mamma Mia was ABBA, yeah.
Right. Right.
So
but it's wild. I'm lucky that I'm surrounded by my dad and my brother and my three best friends, Joe, Barry, and the other two guys that were able to pull that off. I love the way this band has evolved over the years, but the band that we have now is just, everybody is so geared up to do the hardest, craziest thing we can do to not just wow the audience, but to wow ourselves. When you're a 27-year-old musician, you want to go out, you want to play your own music, you want to play, what you love, what's on the radio. We're going out and playing music from 50, 60 years ago. We want to look at each other and go at the end of the night, wow, that felt really good. That felt so cool to do. And, we're there. Thank God we're there.
When you...
Yeah, the best comment we get from a lot of the promoters is they say, the fact that you've got all these young kids playing these tunes, when these people are looking at the stage and they see all these young kids doing it, they really feel like they're back at their high school dance watching the garage band that was up on stage, at that time. And it really, it works. It kind of really transports everybody.
So when you first played it to a live audience, for the very first
horrible.
time.
It was so
well, then
bad.
as good as what you hear now.
Well, okay, so what happened?
Not what you hear now.
What was the change? What was the tweaking?
Just everybody really getting comfortable with their parts. It's one of those things where when you're in a harmony band and you have your part and you're starting to do it and everybody's okay and you're a little tentative and you're not really belting it and you're kind of hanging back, and it was a little timid, and where everybody's ready. Joe Bonasorte, our guitar player, is super worried about, not the singing part, but he's got to get the guitar part down just right and on the money. And then at the end of the night, I blew it. I got the wrong note. I didn't hit it clean. And, and now it's just second nature to everybody just to walk up and blow it out and go, okay, guys, ready for our showstopper. This is it. And everybody's confident, that whole confidence level thing.
I didn't know when to go falsetto, when to belt the note, because Freddie Mercury, come on, one of the greatest singers and writers in the history of time. The first few times I did it, I didn't know how to reach up for that extra note, how to do it every night. I looked at them after the first night and I looked at everybody after the show. I said, sorry guys, I really embarrassed us. I did not hit that note. I didn't know how to do it. And it's just practice every day, just trying to get it to be able to look at ourselves and go, finally, we got this down. Finally.
How much of your preparation for this song involved actually going into the original Queen archives and looking at like videos and things from YouTube?
Oh, I had to go out and buy the book. I had to go out and buy the book with all the. This is the fifth harmony that he used during this bridge. This is the 1-3-5, and then he overdubbed this voice 7 times to get it to sound that fat. And then we look at each other and go, okay, how are we going to do that? So if we have 3 guys stay on that one note, it'll make it sound really fat. And then me, Dad, and Nick will go to this other note. It was so much jockeying around the harmonies to get it to sound fat.
Yeah,
but
even
the piano stuff was crazy.
Another main part of what we do, how this band operates is, if we're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or, Wednesday through Saturday, on Monday and Tuesday we're in a studio. This week basically was, we were in California on last Saturday and Sunday. So we flew out Friday, we played Saturday and Sunday, we flew back Monday morning. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we were in the studio. Friday and Saturday we were in Chicago. Sunday we flew back. Today was our first day back, and we're in the studio all day today. And that's how last week, again, we have, we basically played on Saturday night, we're like the Springsteen of oldies groups. We played 3 hours. We did it's a theater show with 1,000 people, and the promoter said to me, this is what I want you to do. Come out and play from 9 to 9:45, take a break till like 10, and then play like from 10 to 11. I'm like, okay. So we go out. The people love us. We went out. We played from 9 to 10. I pushed it to an hour. We took a break to about 10:20, and then we played from 10:20 to 12:20.
Wow!
And and even at 12:20, the people were calling for an encore, and the security guys looking at me like, "We really got to close the theater. You guys got to stop." And it's just, but we just keep adding and adding material, and every time you keep doing that, you go, "Okay, so what are you going to cut out?" And we all kind of shrug and go, "What, do we got to cut it out? Let's do them all." And then you wind up doing them all. So we added like 6 new things this week.
So, this was a big week.
So that kind of gets.
We actually did our first brother duet. Me and Nick sang our first song together. Think about it. This band's been together for 14 years. Me and Nick never did a song, just me and him.
So what's the
so
duet?
Me and him went out and did God Only Knows by the Beach Boys.
Wow.
Right, Nick?
Nick,
after phone, so we know you're there.
See, Rockline never had these problems.
I'm listening. I'm like fan number one right now listening to you two.
So,
Bites my arm.
so when you guys are doing the old set list, how does that get generated? Because there's so much stuff.
Constant fighting. I mean, it really is. I mean, because you know, I listen to the kids, I really do, but it still comes down to I like to do this, this, and this, and then they'll tell me, come on, let's do this and that, and then it becomes where we kind of tug at each other back and forth. And then, you know, when we're in the game, I mean, I do the old, let me embarrass the kids, and on the stage I say, I want to do this. So now they're all, you know, grimacing at me, and now they're stuck and they have to do it, even though we agreed beforehand that we weren't going to do it.
It's not bad like that. I mean, basically, cool. we know the formula enough to know that during a 90-minute show, we have our, like, 6 to 8 major hits that we have to do. Like Run Around Sue, The Wanderer, the Four Seasons medleys, the Surf medley. You know, these are the songs we know we got to do every night, and we enjoy doing them every night. The other songs we call like our B bracket, our swing tunes. Or some nights, instead of me going out and doing Kicks by Paul Revere and the Raiders, I can go out and do Kinda Hush by Peter Noon. Or I can go out and do Daydream Believer by,
the Monkees.
Who is that, Dad? The Monkees, right? Yeah. And, you know, we have our little swing song. So we literally, me and Dad look at each other before we go out on stage every night. We look into the crowd, and we gauge the audience. If we see that they're a really rockin', rowdy, wow, look at that, they cheered at the intro video. Okay, cool. So we can do a lot cooler, rockier stuff. If they're a little more like, you know, they just want to chill, watch, enjoy themselves, you know, we'll go a different route. But literally, we find that out 10 minutes before we go on.
I mean, we really are a formula band. I mean, and the reason why I say that is all my years of, you know, working at a record label, and really, you know, we would talk to each and every band, and you should do this, and you should do that, and it should be framed this way and that way. And you know, the bands that pretty much listened are the bands that always broke through and did really well. That there was a structure, and there was a game plan. And, you know, if you stick to the game plan, you should do really well. And I had set this band up with a whole, you know, game plan in mind. And the game plan basically was, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to basically, you know, we're going to, for the first 3 or 4 years, we're going to really hone it on a low level, doing, you know, restaurants, maybe some street fairs here or there, and just keep it low and really get the band super tight. And then by the second, you know, part of that first phase, you know, we're going to get it to the point where we're going to start doing theater shows, and we're really going to ratchet it up. And, you know, I would say the game plan I had laid out for the band was at 5 years, we were going to be on a certain level, and I had picked an artist that I wanted to target that I said will be right in their pocket and be doing what they're doing. And what had happened was we hit that mark in 4 years. And the kids were well ahead of schedule. And then it just got to, okay, so now how do we take it to the next level? And then we really pushed the boundary to go that way, you know, with bringing the whole, where it's more video than we had the first 4 years and more, you know, but the formula basically is, okay, so you have the stars, introduce who you're about to see and what this is all about. And then we basically kind of come out, and as the old guy, you know, I hit the middle, and I kind of cover it, and I let you get in a kind of comfort zone that, okay, you know, this is a band that's from the Bronx, and they do Dion, and, you know, and I was lucky enough to do some projects with Frankie Valli's companies, and so we'll do a Frankie Valli medley, and Nicky had played drums for the Jersey Boys, so it makes sense. And then the thing is, then I introduced the kids.
And then Dad lets me come out and scare everybody.
You know, yeah, well, Vinny comes out, and Dad does his thing, and then they say, well, okay, this is the first song, that's pretty cool. And then, you know, to kind of tug at your heartstrings a little bit, I do a duet with him. And then it's like really neat. And then, you know, the natural progression would be, let me bring Nick back from behind the drums, and then I do a duet with him. So now you got the whole family kind of introduced, and then I get out of the way, and all the kids step forward, and they do the surf medley. And then there's usually an intermission, and then we come back out, and then it kind of starts the same way. Where,
he's like a mad scientist, how he thought
the dad
all
does it, and then it gets into the whole kids block where I really just kind of get out of the way and let the kids do their thing and tear it up, and then it, you know, comes full circle around where we show our home movies, and it goes back then to a song like Run Around Sue, which is, you know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Dion, and then from that moment, then we basically just, you know, everybody, all hands on deck, let's rip it up and bring it home. and we just slam everybody, into the dirt and just go, let's go.
And that's why, like, we never really got into doing the package shows where, like, when you only have 15 minutes to perform with 5 other groups, it's like, how do you pick which songs of the Bronx Wanderers do you do in 15 minutes?
You can't.
It's like impossible to tell our story in that amount of time.
Just
it's an amazing thing because we had just played 2 weeks ago with Gary Lewis and the Playboys, and I'm a big Jerry Lewis fan, and I had watched Gary do his set. He did like 5. So again, I mean, he's another one of those guys. Every song's a hit. He did 5 or 6 songs. Every song was a top 10 hit. And I mean, I literally stood in the wings, and I said to him afterwards, I said, the only reason I'm here tonight is because I wanted to work with you and meet you, and I'm such a big fan. And he was gracious enough. He took a picture with me, and it was great. And then I started to talk to his band, and the guy said to me, we hate doing these shows only from a standpoint that we don't get to do our show. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, Gary does the whole show is video driven with videos of his dad and videos of him making movies with Jerry and how Jerry got him this and how he did duets with these starlets. And you go, yeah, great. But so even, he has to every once in a while say, you know what, let me do a package show. Let me get out there and, just kind of show my face. But he has a video driven show as well.
All right, we got to take a quick break. This is wild radio because when you're with the Bronx Wanderers, there's stories galore. Keep it right here.
Crazy wild.
Crazy wild. All right, Richard Solomon taking care of business. This is one of the greatest jobs in radio because I get to meet some of the greatest musicians that are out there. And to me, part of that great family of great musicians who play with heart and soul and drive and can really rock the house are these guys, the Bronx Wanderers. And if you just
hello.
And if you're just joining us, we're doing a little wacky thing. We're trying to do a conference call because everybody is scattered across the globe. And this is the only way. Besides, they're so busy that it's actually hard to nail them down in one single venue anyway. So this is the best way to kind of capture. They got great stories. Well, in the time that we have left, we got to get some stories out. So you want tell us a little bit about how you got to know Dion, because
so Dion basically lived on the block that my parents, we had a house. We were like their neighbors, and my cousin Janice used to hang out with him all the time as a teenager. So when I was born, my mother actually took singing lessons from his dad, and somewhere in this house I have those tapes. And his dad wanted to be like a music teacher. Once Dion was about to hit, his father capitalized and was giving the kids in the neighborhood singing lessons, and my mother was one of his students. And so I was born, and Janice took Dion over the house, and he basically would hang in our house, and he signed a baby book, and he took some pictures, and my mother would take me all the time to watch them rehearse down the street, and it really was like a neighborhood thing where everybody in the neighborhood was kind of close to them. And so through the years, I developed a writing relationship with him that, I was the kid, remember the kid, the baby kid, and I would send him pictures, and he was gracious enough to always say, yeah, and my grandmother would always tell me that his mother's side, where the Campanellas, was that we were related to the Campanellas. And so I would try and tell him, I said, oh, we're related, I'm related to the Campanellas. And he could not have been nicer to me. He was always cool to me. And it just became a thing where as I was getting older and I really wanted to be him, I started playing guitar and I started really, I always emulated him. And I would be the only kid where everybody was out doing, Led Zeppelin stuff with the Beatles. There I am playing the Wanderer and talent shows and things like that. So I was in high school and I had called him up. And I said, I want a job in the record business. And he was the one that called Terry and Tommy and said, give this kid a shot. And, the rest is history. I have my career really because of him.
Wow. So I got to ask this question for my family. My wife and children, my children are 4 and 2, love Jim Croce. They actually they listen in the car on the way to school, Jim Croce's greatest hits.
Right.
That's great.
My little one goes operator.
That's a great tune.
Could you talk a little bit about Jim Croce? What your relationship?
I mean, I started at the label at the end of 1976, going into 77, and Jimmy had died in 73. I mean, you want to talk about stupid? I mean, I have the original, in our warehouse. you know, you're a lawyer and you could probably get me arrested for this. But when we sold the catalog, to Atlantic, it was the, oh my God, I can't remember the name, but it was this big conglomerate group that after so many years, the rights we were going to lose the rights anyway, and everything was going to revert back. We were going to lose the publishing. My boss was such a good businessman, made a deal to sell all the masters and get them out. And every time you make a master and you make a safety. So there's a backup to it. So when it came, and this was these guys, you know, blood and sweat, this was their main artist, this was their main thing. And when it came time for the delivery of the master tapes, they said to me, you have to bring the master tapes. And I said, okay. And then, of course, I went downstairs, I'm not doing it. So I took all the safeties, which were the backups, and I gave it to them. And I want to say this was about 30 years ago. And what I did was about 10 years after, I never told anybody I did this. I went downstairs and I gave each of them, you know, a copy of the master, which they produced. And I said, here, I didn't have the heart to give these away 10 years ago, to which they all shrieked and said I could have got them shot and killed. And, you know, but
what you don't know can't hurt you.
And Jimmy was such a good guy. I had the actual stool that he sat on, and the I Got a Name sessions. And one of those things where you don't know memorabilia and you don't know things are going to be worth something. In one of our moves that we did through the years, I have no idea where it is. And it was just, you know, I kill myself to this day that, you know, we did that. But, you know, Tommy
We
West...
actually wound up putting I Got a Name on the new album, the last new album that we put out.
The guitar player...
Such a strong affiliation, yeah. We
did the guitar player that plays that whole intro to Operator was a great guitar player, Maury Muleisen. His sister, for the 40th anniversary of the plane crash a couple of years back, said to me, we're putting together a whole 40th anniversary thing, and I'd love you to be a part of it, being that you were there. I mean, I was pretty much, you know, I got gold records for his greatest hits, Photographs and Memories. I got greatest love songs, Down the Highway, Faces I've Been. It's about 4 or 5 albums. I mean, the amazing thing was we had 3 albums out, and we turned it into 11 albums.
Wow.
And it was just, you know, repackaged every different way you could imagine. And it became where, I mean, a good 3 or 4 of them all went gold. And it was just a great time. And, you know, I knew Ingrid back then, I'm going to say in the 70s, 78, 79. I have not seen her since then. And I know his son AJ is out. And, I mean, I saw AJ when he was like 5 years old. And he sounds great, and he's out playing and doing a lot of stuff. But, you know, working with Terry and Tommy has been my biggest influence on how to structure a song, how to, you know, start small, build it, and then make it real big. And Vinny produced a great version of. I said to him, you know, I got to do this right, and it's for Mary, and it was for Terry, Tommy, and Phil, and we recorded I Got a Name on our newest album, and it just came out great.
Shameless plug time. The name of the new album is?
Still Happy Together.
Aha. Okay. Because I have the original Family, the Family Affair album?
Yep.
And I have Not Afraid to Dream. So
we got to send you the new one.
So there you go. So, you know.
Still Happy Together. And we've been, you know, it's just the fact that we tour so much, we literally don't have the time to go in and, you know, I don't want to put something out for the sake of putting something out. You know, I want it to be better than the last album we did. And to do that, we literally need to take a couple of months and really just block it out and go in and do it. And we just have not had that time. I mean, we're close. I mean, but we're still we'd have to spend every day in the studio for like 2 or 3 weeks to finish the next album. And we just
That's basically how we put together our Christmas album, which was last year in October. We had 2 weeks to put it together before we left for tour for Florida. And we were going to do this song, Happy Christmas, War is Over, the one by John Lennon.
Yeah.
And they had the choir on that song. And I said to Dad, listen, let's not do this cheap and crappy. Let me try going to the local middle school that me and Nick went to, and Joe Barry, I think, went to. And
That's right.
I went to the little kids, to the music director. I said, would you mind if I came in and recorded this song with the kids' choir? Because I'm putting out a Christmas album. If I'm going to put out my first Christmas album ever, I want it to be great. And the school couldn't have been nicer. They lent me the kids for 3 hours. We came in, we recorded it with them. We wrote out cue cards of what words they have to say.
They were great.
And, it was great.
That kind of reminds me of Fleetwood Mac getting the USC Trojans for Tusk.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I had nowhere to go and no one to think of other than, okay, I went to this school, let me try that, and my first shot, it worked out. We actually got my mom on that record too, who acted like Yoko Ono. She led all the kids, and I mean, it was hilarious. We made a little goof out of it. But for the 2 weeks that we put in, we literally put in 8 to 10 hours a day.
Wow. So
so we got a product for
and I always say that's like my favorite album. It was such a good feel album that you know when you're in a session and it's all it's a good session. Wow, that was good. Wow, that sounded good. And I mean, it was like every one of the tunes in that session would just everybody had a good time. And we were approaching the holidays. Everybody was in the right head, and it really just was. The kids in the school just could not. They sound as good, if not better, than the kids that did John's original version. I mean, they're great.
Wow. So
yeah, we got to send you that album too.
100%. I'll get an autograph when I see you guys at the North Shore Towers.
And not to alienate any of my Jewish fans, nothing religious, all happy holiday tunes.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
Did you know that Jim Croce was a nice Jewish boy?
Yes.
Yes, that's a little trivia. There you go.
Yes.
All right. So when you guys go to quote the studio, is it always the same studio, or do you do like Led Zeppelin? You go to like Bronyar or these other places?
We did. I mean, Family Affair was done when the band had started and the kids were little. I knew a guy that had a really, really nice state-of-the-art studio in Staten Island, and we kind of started there. And when his lease ended, he took it to. He has a really, really big house down by Bruce Springsteen. And so we were recording a lot of the stuff in the studio that he had now moved to his house, which I think pretty much most of Not Afraid to Dream was done there. And then, it just became a grind to really drive the 2 hours just to go through a session. And we would do things like where we'd work 1 in the afternoon to 11 at night and then have a 2 hour ride home. It just became really, tough to do. And then Ethan was a local guy and just a really great engineer. Ethan's our bass player. And Ethan said, I have a studio. And Vinny was recording stuff there. And then we just kind of went over and clicked. And the next thing you know, Ethan joined the band. And so now we record literally 15 minutes from the house. And Ethan's dad was Frank Sinatra's guitar player for a long time. He's a great, great session guitar player that everybody uses, and it just became like a real comfortable, natural fit. I mean, right?
Yeah, we now record in my friend's basement.
That's great. That's
to
great.
Answer your question. It's no major recording studio. It's in a guy's basement. But I mean, the drum set that he has isn't made anymore. It's from 1970. The best sounding drum set you'll ever hear in your life. I mean, it's great. I couldn't be happier.
His dad recorded with Frank, so everything is state of the art, and it's just really good stuff.
Well, and what's interesting is I went to see the Nashville concert on Saturday night at the Tilly Center, and I saw a poster that said that Sinatra sings Sinatra's coming sometime later this year.
Yes,
so, yeah.
As a matter of fact, we just left
Chicago.
He's playing the place
he just
on
played
Saturday. He's playing there Wednesday night.
Ah.
Yeah, we were just there. Yeah.
What day is today? Tuesday? He's playing tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
Monday, 2 days. He's playing Wednesday. Yeah.
Unfortunately, this will be heard after the fact, but as Ian Anderson once wrote, it was a new day yesterday, but it's an old day now.
Yep, exactly right.
So who are the heroes of rock and roll that you've either met or played with that were like the kind of moment for you?
Wow.
Go ahead, Dad.
Wow. Well, I mean, I have the dubious distinction of being at Billy Joel's audition for Cashman and West, and they were so busy at the time, with so many projects that they said they couldn't handle it, and Billy was wound up passed over to Phil Ramone, and they recorded The Stranger, and the rest is history, and that was a cool moment. And I mean, seeing Neil Diamond in the hallways was always great, and and Dion was my guy. I mean, just to be able to work on the Return of the Wanderer album was like the ultimate thrill for me. And I remember telling them back then that someday when I'm like old and, looking back, this is going to be like one of the coolest things ever in my life. And to this day, when I look at the Return of the Wanderer album and there's my name on the back, it's like, yeah, that was a really cool moment. And,
I loved getting to play recently with Peter Noon of Herman
Hermit. He's incredible. He's great.
He was awesome, and just being able to watch him be an entertainer, not even just sing. There are not many guys that I look at on the circuit that are as good as my dad. You know, like being a singer is one thing, but being able to be an entertainer and tell stories and weave a whole entire night around something magical. Peter Noon had that same it factor that my dad has. And that was really cool, getting to meet and hang out with him. And I mean, me and Nick got to meet Charlie Thomas. Like, we had no idea who that was, the Drifters. And Dad goes, remember Home Alone when he puts the aftershave on? That's Charlie Thomas. And I'm just like, whoa, man, we're getting to play with that guy. That's so cool. You know, we've met a lot of cool people along the way. You know, Black. I mean, all these people.
I have to say, playing with U.S. Bond, that was a really great experience for me.
Gary,
U.S. Bond, yeah, man, it's great.
The fact that
cool.
he actually influenced like some of Dion's biggest hits, that was like really cool.
Yeah.
In a strange way.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah,
wild.
What is
meet
it?
A lot of cool people.
What is it like to be part of the oldies circuit where you see all these legends and you rub elbows with them, and you're accused of being Gene Simmons, that kind of thing.
Who let the kids in here?
I have no idea how we're not banned from the oldies circuit. It's a thrill. I mean, you got to stand back and you got to respect these guys, and you got to say, hey, these were the guys. Jay Siegel and the Tokens. I mean, Jay's one of those guys that people don't realize, the Lion Sleeps Tonight, it's great, and they had some really good, but he also produced like Tony Orlando's records, and he produced like so many things that people don't realize. This guy had a whole other record career, besides being the lead singer of the Tokens. And you step back and you go, wow, you just look at these guys and like reverence. And most of these guys, after they all had the one hit, they didn't disappear. They all went in and they worked in the record industry, and they've all got these storied careers that nobody really knows about.
Same thing
because
with
they
Paul
only
Anka.
know them from that
look
one
at him,
hit.
Writing Michael Jackson's, he just came out with a hit with Michael Jackson, Paul Anka. Getting to meet him was wild. Writing everything, stuff for Barbra Streisand, stuff for who's the guy that did She's a Lady, Dad?
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones. I've seen him.
Right, yeah. Wrote that. I mean, crazy, man. Those are the guys I looked up to, the guys that wrote their own stuff. And that, sadly, is an art today that is no longer present.
So I was at Sears Sound one day, the old Hit Factory, and I'm on the elevator, and I'm riding the elevator, 5 floors with David Bowie. And I think for the first 3 floors, it's like, I can't be the overzealous fan, but yet I can't let him get off the elevator. And finally, around the 4th floor, I said, all right, man, look, I'm busted. I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan. And he was so cool. And that was a cool moment. I had to drop off a package once to Atlantic Records, and a guy tapped me on the shoulder to walk around me. And, okay, buddy, got it. And it's just that I'm dealing with the desk, and a guy from the back room came running out. He said, oh, my God, I bet that's as close as you ever got to him. And I go, who? And he goes, that was Mick Jagger. And I'm like, no! So freaking out. And probably my favorite one that we do in the show now that I talk about is bosses called me in one day, and they said, okay, here's the deal. Frank Sinatra wants to record Bad Bad Leroy Brown. We need you to run over to his lawyer's office. It's his New York office, and just drop the papers off. And I got all excited. I said, am I going to get to meet Frank Sinatra? They said, no. And they said, listen, you're under strict orders. Do not talk. You go there, you drop off the package, you turn around, you walk out. And I'm like, all right. So I took the package. I go, I knock on the door. The receptionist lets me in, and she says, yes, they're waiting for you there in the back. And as I'm walking down the hallway, who pops out of the office is Frank Sinatra. So I kind of like stand there stunned that I'm looking at Frank Sinatra, who my household, my parents, my grandparents, my God, it's Frank Sinatra. And as I'm standing there, he's walking towards me, and I'm like, do I say something? Do I not say something? The longer I'm standing there, I'm just kind of like frozen in time. He walks right up to me and says, kid, you're in the way. And he pinches my cheek. He gives me a little slap, and he winks at me, and he runs by me. So now I go down the office, drop the papers off, and just great moments like that.
These guys have great stories. This is Richard Solomon. We ran out of time, but we'll see what we can do about getting the Bronx Wanderers to be back next week. Until then, have a safe week. Thanks for listening, and check out thebronxwanderers.com.